What is up, world? We are here for another episode of Dreamchasers. Stoked to have the CEO of Clever Talks, Chris Soriano, with me today.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. This is really exciting.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here. And for all of you that do not know what Dreamchasers is yet, I bring people like Chris on my show. We're on the road to achieving their dreams, and the idea is for them to share insights, advice, and inspire other people to keep chasing their dreams, because we both know it's a really challenging thing to be able to do that. And why I'm so excited to have Chris on the show. They're doing big things right now. It's kind of a funny story how I discovered Chris. I live in Pacific Beach, which is in San Diego, California, and there was a big billboard. And as I was driving home one night, I saw Little John and Clever Talks, and it just felt like there's some synergy between what we do. I've been to TED Talks before. I'm a big fan of all that stuff. Yeah. So I just decided to reach out, and happy to have you on the show. And just start off telling the people what's Clever Talks and go from there.
So pretty much what Clever Talks is it's a conference for basically thinkers who want to change their lives. You know, our tagline is the conference for vision to action, right? But we pretty much wanted to tailor a conference for millennials, you know, people more like us, like you and I. I remember going to different conferences while I was in college, and some of the conferences I go to were so, you know, boring. And I'm like, man, I wish there was somebody up there that I can relate to. And so I wanted the hip hop dance crew, and I wanted somebody who was just, and that's what I brought to Clever Talks. We've had the Poriotics, who are America's Best Dance Crew champions. We've had, you know, viral stars such as Prince Eve, just like people that you wouldn't normally see at a very structured professional type of conference. I wanted to bring to the students. And so, because I feel like that time when we're students, we're so like, that's our make or break it time. You know, that's the time when we get influenced to do so many things, and we learn through so much failure. I know I have. So I'm sure you probably have too. So in a nutshell, I can't just sum up Clever Talks in like, it's one sentence. This is what Clever Talks is, you know? It's more like, it's a lifestyle, it's a movement. And that's exactly what's spreading through colleges across America right now.
Yeah, I hear that. Well, tell the people how Clever Talks got started.
So Clever Talks started about a year ago. You know, I'm a journalist, so I interviewed so many cool people for CNN, NBC, and as I'm interviewing all these people, kind of like what you're doing to me right now, ironically, I'd sit with them and I'd talk with them, and, you know, I'd hold the microphone up to them and everything. And as they were talking to me, I'd get all these hidden gems, and I'd be like, dang, if I could share this with the people back, you know, in San Diego, or those students that really needed that, you know, inspiration, like, this is the key. These people that I met, even a famous designer, Ed Hardy's the one who, Christian Audigier, he created Ed Hardy, or I met like a celebrity real estate agent named Chad Rogers, like all these great, awesome people. And so I said, I asked them, I said, would you be willing to inspire students back in San Diego? You know, all these people that I met. And they were like, sure, yeah, you know, why not? You know, and not only were they willing to do it, they were willing to do it for free. Like, these people were willing to go out there, out of their way, and give back to these students. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, man, I've got something here. You know, I feel like I'm fulfilling a cause. And so what I did was we started our first conference in a small venue called the Hall of Champions, a good venue. I don't want to say small, it's actually a pretty big venue. Yeah, it is. And it's in historic Balboa Park. And I said, we're gonna give it a shot. You know, I was still working in the news, and I said, let me do this at the same time. I was working like 50-hour weeks and still planning a conference at the same time, crossing my fingers that it'd work out, and it actually worked out. A lot of people were inspired. We were featured on the news channel locally. We were like everywhere. And I invited, you know, Olympic bodybuilding champions. I invited, you know, Ted Williams. He's the homeless guy with a golden voice. Like viral stars that have been featured on Ellen DeGeneres' show. Wow. And they all spoke for free. Like, they didn't charge us or anything. They just wanted to give back to these students. And so that's pretty much, this all started last year. So in a year, we've gotten so far so fast.
Wow.
Thanks.
Yeah, that's incredible. Well, tell all the Dreamchasers about Chris Soriano. How did Chris Soriano come to be?
Oh man, you make it sound like I'm some cool guy, Chris Soriano.
You are pretty cool.
Thanks, man. No. I mean, how I came to be, I grew up in a tough area in San Diego. It's still a good area, but basically Skyline San Diego is where a lot of gang activity has happened. And, even, one of the last officers to get killed in line of duty was Christopher Wilson in where I live, like a mile from my house. So I grew up in a tough area surrounded by gang violence. And as a kid growing up, I pretty much would always encounter this. And a life beyond, when you're growing up as a kid, you think, red and blue, gangs, it's all cool. It's just a part of life, But when I started noticing people getting shot, getting jumped, I noticed this isn't the life I want to surround myself with. Mm-hmm. My mother, said, one day you're going to probably get killed if you continue to live and operate in this place because of the people that I was hanging around with that lived in my area. And so that's when, she said, you're going to be homeschooled. So I did independent study. And as I was homeschooled, I realized that, there's more to life. I started reading more books, getting more educated, and hanging out with smarter people. And I realized, man, I love hearing people's stories. I love hearing how they became successful. And that's what developed my passion to become a journalist. I said, if I can meet people and I can hear what makes them successful, I'll take a little bit of that so that I can be successful one day. And so I said, I'm going to work for the news, graduating, high school, going into college. And that's pretty much what built my life and my career.
Okay, well, when I was doing some research on you, there's a favorite part of your story you left out about how you ended up getting into San Diego State.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I think it's really relevant for all the people who are chasing their dreams to hear about what you did to actually get into state. So can you share with the audience?
Sure. No, it's an interesting story. I'm glad you brought that up. But San Diego State, I was at Southwestern College, and I really, really wanted to transfer to San Diego State. And I applied, just like anybody else would. I got my, 56, 60 credits or whatever it was. I did the bare minimum to get in and have, the right everything. And when I applied, basically I was denied admission because my GPA was too low. And, I wanted to get into journalism, but my GPA was too low. And so I was like, dang, I got denied. And usually when you get denied, that's it. You can't reapply. You can't do anything else. You could reapply, but you got to wait. And so that's when I said, man, I believe every rule has an exception. I'm not the firm believer of, I'm just like, if you tell me no, I'm going to somehow find a way to say yes. There was this great quote that I heard that said, if the front door is locked and the back door is jammed, the window should be the next option. So I'm like, I sound like a house robber or something, right? So I was like, but that's me, So what I did was I said, I'm going to write a letter to the president of the university. And at the time, President Weber, cool guy, really nice dude, and I wrote a letter, a heartfelt letter. It wasn't just like, hey, let me in. It was more like, I'm the type of individual that wants to make a difference in society. I grew up in a hard place. I was able to get out of there and get into college. And I don't believe that this is the end of the road. I want to get into SDSU. I believe great leaders in history have wrote letters of change, such as Martin Luther King. I made it really historic, this dang letter. And I fired it off, expecting not to hear back and just, trying to apply to other colleges. But a few weeks later, I get a call from the admissions appeal committee from San Diego State. And I'm like, dude, they're actually going to consider me, So I'm like, this is awesome, So they basically said, hey, it's not a guarantee. We saw your letter. We did review it. We appreciate that you even sent this to us, but we will go through a committee to see if we'll allow you in. And it has to be unanimous. So that means everybody has to agree to let my, in so I can get in, And I was crossing my fingers. I was like, oh man, it ain't no chance everybody's going to say yes. But, out of everybody didn't say yes. It was unanimous, and they let me in, and I, defied the odds. I got in, so I was denied, and 2 months later, I was approved. So
that's incredible. I think it's such an important lesson for our audience because you could have easily taken that no and just tucked your tail and waited until you could get the right time.
Right.
And I just don't think people realize, whether you're running a business or you're trying to become a famous musician, you're going to get a lot of no's, and the idea of how you take that and ultimately move forward is what is the difference between those who are successful and those who are not.
Right. Are you the type who will just, give into your excuses? Like, okay, maybe, this just isn't for me. Or are you going to try to turn that excuse around and say, I'm going to find a way in? And I was that latter example. But.
Yeah. And that's the kind of person a dream chaser has to be, right?
Right.
Because you can't be honestly, if you're that sort of person, then just stop chasing your dreams.
right. Yeah.
Might as well just keep it real for you right now, because that's one of the things I wish people had told me when I started this process, is that there's so much hardship to it, and there's so much of you that has to go into making something good happen.
Right.
And if you're not willing to go in on yourself and whatever you're doing, then you're not going to get where you want to go.
Right. No, that's true. I'm glad you're saying that. And I see eye to eye on everything that a dream chaser stands for, because I'm a dream chaser myself.
Well, explain what your vision is for Clever Talks going forward.
So my vision for Clever Talks is pretty much to create something that is just, it enhances the millennials' experience. For instance, Toyota said, we want to design a car. We want to design a car for the millennials, and they created Scion. If you look at the description, it's for, that new emerging generation like us. We are, the future. So I figured if I could create a conference that empowers more people like me, then not only will I feel fulfilled, but it'll be a chain reaction. It'll actually create and make a difference in our community. It might decrease the crime rate. It might increase the creative rate. Who knows,
Yeah.
So the future and what I'm trying to build and the vision for Clever is something, I wish I could, go day and night to tell you, but I even want to take us, never mind. It's just, it's a lot. Like, even from, I've seen experiences and movements like Coachella and EDC, and I've seen the great experience people can take away, because they're enjoying, they're seeing DJs. I want to get those DJs and those great people and have them share their story on Clever Talks, this unique platform. You would never see that in a professional suit and tie conference where you've got, I don't know, Kygo or whoever, like some great DJ sharing how they made it, because I think that's who are the leaders of today, some of the musicians, and to hear how they became successful. It was never a straight shot of success. No. It was usually a failure, a little bit of success, double failure, a little bit of success, triple failure, and then the sprout up. It's strength grows out of resistance. And when people keep getting beat down and keep going forward, it strengthens them so that when they keep getting beat down, they're resilient. They're buff, they're tough. And so, the future speakers that I'm trying to bring to Clever are those innovators, those musicians, those hip hop dancers, just the people that you would have never seen inspiring you to inspire you. So.
It's funny you bring up Kygo. I don't know whether this was relevant to the fact that Cross Festival is going on right now. It's a music festival we have here.
Awesome. I didn't even know, man. That's cool.
Kygo is playing, I think, literally as we're talking right now. So he's just dream chasing as we're dream chasing. So
wow, that's interconnectivity, right? He's spinning and we're talking. So
let me just hit him up and be like, just give us a shout out real quick.
Right. Text him right now, But that's awesome, man. I didn't know that. That's great. I should be acting. No, I'm kidding. That's more important.
Let's wrap this up.
No, not at all. That's awesome. He's doing his thing. We're doing ours. So.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I love about what you guys are doing here, is you really have a vision to bring on the people who aren't in a suit and tie.
Yeah. And astrophysicists, nuclear paleontologists. No, we want the person that worked really hard and has built their success. Like our theme for our last conference was one move to greatness. And there's always that one move that had, let's just use Kygo, for example. Had Kygo not made that, he wouldn't be who he is today. There's one move usually that probably you have made that wouldn't, you wouldn't be where you're at today if you didn't make that move either. So for me, it was probably fighting hard for SDSU, even though they denied me. I said, even if I don't make it, I still want to try it. And I got in. So, that really changed my life. So,
yeah, it was funny because if I hadn't cold emailed you, we wouldn't be sitting here.
right. Yeah. Exactly. That's just a true point.
Yeah, it's so funny that you brought that up. And with Clever Talks, tell us about some of the speakers. Like, who would you say is under the radar that people need to know?
That's a great question. I feel like there's so many undiscovered talent that's out there that always has something unique to say. But to say, a certain talent, everybody needs to know who this person is. I couldn't really pinpoint who that person is because when I look at success, I look at industries. And when I look at specific industries, whether it's tech, whether it's music, even startups, whatever it may be, there's leaders in that category. So for instance, if I going to I like this. I always like researching good companies. For instance, there's a startup juice company. For instance, Suja. They're out of San Diego. Even Stone Brewing. Even from the beverage industry, from alcohol to juices. There's so many successful people. And when you look at a product, you have to look at the innovator behind it. And so Suja, for example, started with a team of people. I can't really pinpoint who those people were, but the fact that I was from San Diego and it was a juice that just started in farmers markets and people, started drinking this and it started spreading. They look at that great product, but behind it is a great innovator, somebody with a great mind and a great vision. Mm-hmm. And so when you want to look at who's the next big thing, you look at what's the awesome, cool products, and those founders behind it is usually the visionary. And that's who I would target. Who's the person that you should interview or who you should hear from.
So it's like a very focused approach.
Right.
You're taking. Right. Okay. And I'm kind of getting that's like one of your big things is you're a big proponent of focus.
Yes. Yeah. But focus is a huge thing. A lot of people, even that literal focus and focusing, metaphorically to people who do you want to target. Focus is a very, very important thing.
Yeah. Well, I don't think a lot of people understand focus. Yeah. We hear that word a lot. We're not taught it in school, and we're told that, for example, I'm perfectly cool with it.
Yeah, I would have never noticed.
I mean, yeah, it's funny because we're told things like, ADD is bad and all these things. It's really not.
Right.
At all.
A lot of successful celebrities, even public figures, have ADD.
Yeah. And it goes back to the fact that you can just do whatever you want if you're willing to get past the labels that quote unquote society brings you. So it kind of goes back to this focus thing, right, where it depends on what you focus on.
Right. And a lot of, key contributors go into focus, like enthusiasm, right? I bet you if I gave you something that you're really enthusiastic to do, you will focus because you're like, man, I love this stuff. This is awesome. Like right now, as we're having this interview, you're interviewing me and you're focusing on this interview. You say you have ADD, I would have never known, but you're really focused.
It's like a positive ADD, right? I'm like the typical CEO because my mind is always in like 30 million different places.
Right. See, and that's a good thing because you're able to put yourself in different roles, right? If you're, the visionary, you're the graphic designer, you're the leader. So yeah, I mean, people with ADD, more power to them.
Yeah, exactly. With your company, what are some of the challenges or maybe opportunities you have experienced since you've started up?
Man, there's just so much when you say that. What are the challenges? Like every day there's a challenge, and even from having the right budget, you might set aside, call it $1,000 and say, it's going to cost us, so-and-so to do this, but you only have $1,000 aside. Like even from budgeting, there's challenges because, what happens when the money's all gone? You still got to finish your job. And so that happens, when I myself, I was a journalist, I was never into business. I didn't study business. I just dove into this conference because it just called me. I knew that this is what I had to do. And so that is even a challenge. How does somebody that's not business savvy instantaneously get business savvy? Because if you're not, you're going to lose a lot of money, and people aren't going to be happy. So, for me, a challenge is learning quickly. In the conference industry, there's a lot of things you have to learn, such as, marketing, even the science of presenting a byline of a certain speaker. This speaker created the first, infographic or something. Like you have to make it catchy for people. There's a lot of things I'm learning every day. And to power on knowing that you're fighting for a bigger vision than yourself will allow you to finish that. If you're just doing this for your own personal gain, I don't think you'll make it. I don't think a lot of successful CEOs do it just for themselves. They do it for the bigger vision that they see. Mm-hmm. And for Clever Talks, the bigger vision of us moving even international is what I see. Moving the younger generations, what I see. And so that's what moves me. So there's a lot of challenges. And if I had to map them all out, budgeting, finding the right, when a speaker bails and you have to find a new person to replace it, that's another issue. You know, like there's just so many things that hit you left and right, and I feel like I'm in a ring and my hands are tied behind my back sometimes. I'm getting the crap kicked out of me, you know? So
well, how do you hang in there when all that's happening from the different directions?
Concentration, focus, having faith, knowing that what you're doing, you will learn from. The failure is only a temporary defeat. It's not permanent. You will get around it. You know, you're like water going around some sort of barrier. You know, who said that? Obstacles were only meant to go around, under, or through. I think it was Ralph Waldo Emerson or something. But I believe that, yeah, all problems are temporary, and you'll be able to just power through them if you're prepared.
Yeah, I think that's an important insight for people to get, because so many times we get to a barrier and we just stay stuck at it because we either don't have the knowledge to get around the barrier or we don't have the guts to jump over the barrier. So, for example, with what I'm doing, what's been the most challenging part is I've kind of been in this place of, do I make this into a business or I keep doing the interview component? And it's just been a struggle because I so badly want to make this into like an international platform and have all these things happening. I've had some wonderful people who are helping to make Dreamchasers a possibility. Yeah. And I've kind of learned I have to go around the barrier. Yes. So I can keep fulfilling my passion and doing what I want to do with the platform. But it took me a while to get there because I just kept hitting the barrier over and over again. And it was just so frustrating for me because, like, when you're running a business, you just don't have the capacity. You realize that you need to take a different route. Right. And I would just encourage all the listeners out there to sit down and think about all the routes that are out there, because sometimes you will have all these options that are in front of your face, and if you don't take the time to sit down and look at all of your options, you'll never see it. No, you won't. I mean, and that's the thing. Some people, they have a lot of options, but they just don't make that choice to pursue one, to learn from failure. Just do it. You know, that's why Nike has their slogan, you know, just do it, learn from it. Because it's you know, one good friend of mine told me that, we call him the Chan Man, but he told me, he said, you know, Chris, because I was telling him, dude, I'm going through a lot right now in my business. This is tough, you know. You know, I'm not even 30, I'm 26. I'm making this work. I don't know anything about business, but I'm learning as I go along, you know. And he says, you know, Chris, what you're going through right now with your business and everything, think of you pursuing your business like a dance. You know, whenever you do a dance, you don't do the dance to finish the dance, right? And, you know, you do the dance to enjoy it, enjoy the process. There's times when you're dancing with someone and suddenly you mess up a little bit. You don't just walk away from the dance and leave. You have to pick up and keep dancing. You know, it's the ebb and flow of things. So, you know, don't rush it, enjoy it. This is your business, this is your future. And I said, oh man, it makes a good sense. So I'm dancing right now. So I'm going along, you know. So. Yeah, that's certainly the hardest part though, because at least for me, I get caught up and I get so excited in moments where I'll have interviews or positive steps are starting to happen that I just want to have the success right now, right? And you have to constantly remind yourself about that journey mentality, because eventually you'll get there if you just keep doing the good things and not focus on the end result. Right. Enjoy the journey. I mean, there was this TED Talk that I saw. It was very inspirational.
And it talked about how people, sometimes the really, really focused ones, these mountain climbers, they focus to get to the top and they work so hard, and they get to the top. And when they're at the top, they're like, okay, there's not much to do. Let's just go back down, But there's other people who really plan their journey there with people that they love. They enjoy hiking. They enjoy the trail. They enjoy the air. And then when they get to the top, they're like, man, we enjoyed getting to the top. And we also enjoyed the journey getting there. Let's just make a new journey, So there's those people who are super laser focused. They get to their destinations and they're like, they still don't feel fulfilled. And there's people that enjoy the journey along there and they make it to the destination and they feel fulfilled, So you got to ask yourself, which one are you, So.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Speaking of TED Talks and the journey, how are you guys going to differentiate yourself from TED Talks?
That's a great question. I feel like it's more so not about, are we like them? Are we not like them? We're all in a pool to make a difference together. And they're helping, they're inspiring, a different demographic than we are. And we're inspiring students. That's our goal, So I don't think if ever, the founder were to, I don't know if he's seen what we're doing or, whatever it is, but I think that he would just smile and say, look, they're inspiring people. That's what it's about. That's what America's about, inspiring people to make a difference. Let's help one another. Let's empower each other to get to our goals and dreams.
Hell yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think that's a great mindset to have because you could have easily gone the route of like, there are competitors, they're the bad guys, because they're the ones who you basically have to separate yourself from.
Right.
And it's a good lesson for our audience to learn because really you're just looking to create the same value, inspire people. So before you go and make a bad guy out of your competitor or even think about them from, I wouldn't say it's a negative space because sometimes competition is a positive thing.
Right.
Think about how you align with them, and I think it will help you to just go further down the line.
Right, because that's a different thing about the conference industry. I understand if I was Microsoft and they were Apple and something like that, it's competitive. But with what we're doing is we're empowering people. At the end of the day, it's not about how much money you made. It's about how many people that you inspire, because your network is your net worth. If you've got hundreds of thousands of people that didn't pay a dime to go to your conference but are super inspired, that's worth a lot. That's worth a lot more than what money is, because I believe that even when like Twitter and Facebook and all this started, they started for free, right? And they didn't charge anyone, and they're worth so much. Yeah. So
I'm gonna have to press pause right now, and I'm almost compelled to write this down. That quote was literally money. Like, it's not about how much money you make, it's about how many people empower you.
Right.
And you're empowering. I mean, I feel like you should almost charge me.
Right? No, not at all, man.
Because it's such a great, because it's so true. Because if you are not focused on just money and really making people's lives better, I think ultimately you're going to have a more fulfilling life. Your career is going to be less money centric, which I think leads to more success down the road.
Yeah, you got to be happy. You have to know that you're fighting for a purpose, and you have to know that, not everyone's a dang dollar sign, man. These are people. These are people that can empower you, change your life, and just, treat people like they're supposed to be treated, man. Treat them with respect, treat them awesome, get them inspired, and they'll give you so much more in return,
Yeah, well, how can the Dreamchasers audience and myself help Clever Talks right now?
Oh, man. What you're doing right now, you're helping us out by interviewing me and showcasing what we're doing, and also, checking out our website, clevertalks.com, seeing there a talk and just applying it to your life. And right now we're about to go on a tour throughout numerous colleges up and down California and some of the East Coast. So staying up to date with us as we travel, we'll be putting those talks online too. So Clever Talks is just kind of like having their fun right now. I see like we are having our fun, just traveling and doing these conferences, man.
Well, where specifically are you guys going to be going?
So right now we're headed up to Fullerton, Cal State Fullerton, Santa Barbara, and UC Riverside, like all these cities up and down the coast, as well as we're really excited to go up into the San Jose, Silicon Valley area. There's so many innovators out there that just love these cool type of conferences. So we're excited to be welcome to different organizations there and put on a good, awesome conference there. So
awesome. Yeah, well, shout out to all the people who are in like the southern, I guess, middle part of, that's like kind of Southern California, but it's not, southern, like mid-Cal, we'll just pick up and do the thing, everyone out there, check out Clever Talks. And Chris, what would you say is, I know you're not big on the whole like sharing one specific piece of advice because there are so many things that you could share, but being where you are now, and is there one thing or maybe a concept you would want to share with other dream chasers that you know now that you did before when you started this journey?
Man, that's a great question. So a new concept that I know now that I didn't know when I was starting my journey, right?
Yeah.
Man, if I had to give you one, because I have got so many in my mind, it would probably be staying honest and true. There's something about someone, I value honesty. I love, when you're honest and you tell that to whatever person that, just a lot of people, it's so easy to lie, right? Hey, how's your numbers? Oh, they're great, even though they're not great, whatever. So many people, it's easy to lie, but there's something powerful when somebody tells the truth and they go, oh, it's this way and it's this way. If more people would tell the truth in whatever situation that they're in, no lying at all, it would allow you to learn more lessons faster. It'll allow you to avoid all the pitfalls and nuances of making up this persona that you're not. I mean, the more honest and true to yourself as much as you can be, the faster you'll be able to get ahead in your journey. Because in business, there's a certain persona. I drive this car, we've got these many employees or whatever. No, man, be humble, be honest, and people will really, really value you more, and more business will come to you.
Yeah, that's definitely a great insight. And you were talking about where we can find Clever Talks. So it's clevertalks.com.
Yes.
Where else can good people find you?
So we'll be putting up on our website the tour where we'll be at. So wherever this podcast reaches out to, hopefully people see it in that city where we're at. We appreciate if you came out and support. But also, social media sites, all under the hashtag Clever Talks. And that's pretty much, where we're at. We're excited. There's some talk of making a clothing line, with the CLVR, so we're doing other things. Also some talk of getting us into some sort of a nightclub experience. So there's some different stuff under our sleeve that we're working on, but we're really, just passionate about the future.
Well, that's exciting. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to stop by today, and everyone who's chasing their dreams, go check out Clever Talks. Don't stop until you get where you want to go. And until next time, take it easy, everyone. Adios.
See ya.